scoot in a little bit?
Well, I'm going to scoot in when
Yeah. There you go. Do we have a name for this podcast?
No.
It's just the inaugural podcast.
This is the super awesome alpha show.
Okay. All right, who's gonna?
Are you gonna clap?
Yeah, I'm gonna clap.
Okay, so are we just gonna jump in and start talking about Star Wars, or do we want to?
I think we should give a little introduction.
Just super short.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to introduce it, or you want me to introduce it?
You, because you're
in the middle.
You're the
Yeah.
You got the middle.
Actually, usually the guy in the end. Just kidding. The guy on the far left end usually introduces.
I got texted last night to be on this.
All right. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
What was the thing you just said? The title?
Super Alpha Awesome Show.
Super. Hello and welcome to the very first Super Alpha Awesome Show podcast.
I like that name.
It's a working title. We are three nerds that are here to discuss Star Wars today. We hopefully will bring three pretty fresh perspectives. We're going to give a little bit of introduction, and then we're going to go through each of our top 5 Star Wars moments. So I guess I'll introduce myself first,
I think
and then
that's a good idea.
I'll throw it to y'all. So my name is Adam Cortez. I'm 21, almost 22. I grew up with Star Wars, but obviously being my age, my perspective is a little different than I think some of the perspectives we'll have throughout this podcast. But yeah, I grew up with the Clone Wars, the prequels, sadly, but my dad did a really good job of introducing me to the original trilogy at a really young age. So, you know, I've kind of grown up with like the new age Star Wars, the Disney era and stuff, so I think it'll be interesting to kind of talk about the failures, the successes and stuff. So I guess now your turn, Rhett.
So I'm Rhett Delane. I'm a physics professor, and I'm way older than Adam. So, you know, in 1977, Star Wars came out, and that was like my time, right? So I started from the beginning. It's my show. This is not your show. Star
Right.
Wars is not yours. It's mine.
We're just piggybacking.
You're right at the end. So, but huge Star Wars fan. Always been a huge Star Wars fan. Love physics. Love Star Wars. Love writing. Love videos. There you go.
There you go.
And I'm Grant O'Callahan. I'm 22 years old, and my experience with Star Wars is I really grew up as if the original trilogy was just coming out. At least that's how it was presented to me. Like, I really thought these were new movies. And it's like I was kind of grew up on those kind of like 70s, 80s classics like Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, stuff like that. And basically I didn't watch the prequel trilogy until a little later on, so my perspective is probably a little in between, I feel like. And definitely bigger fan of the original trilogy. Don't really like any other stuff, so so I think we'll have a little bit of disagreement on some things.
So
You know, I didn't watch the prequel trilogy until much later too.
that makes sense.
'Cause I watched them.
in the 70s.
But I mean, when
Yeah.
it came out, it was a huge deal, right? Because like we're gonna make more Star Wars. You know, there was always this rumor when the original trilogy came out that it was really 9 episodes. And actually, you know, when they came out with Empire Strikes Back, they started labeling this episode 4, 5, and 6. When Star Wars came out, it was just Star Wars. There was no episode 4. It was just Star Wars.
Right.
And then went back and said, oh no, that was 4. And then like, where are all the other ones? So it was always a mystery. And then when they started coming out with them, I was like, yeah, let's do this.
I would give anything to be able to watch them for the first time in that theater experience where nobody knew anything.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Even watching it as a kid, you know, like Grant says, it was introduced to him like new movies, but it's still like, you know, 2004, 2005. So like
Right.
the world knows like all these huge things, like who Luke's father is.
But
and,
there's another
you know,
big-
that
Yeah,
type of
exactly.
stuff.
I was 6, so I didn't know.
There was no internet. There was no internet either.
Right,
So there was no spoiler alerts. You could get a magazine. There was these science fiction magazines and stuff. Like, I can't remember what the name was, but then they had pictures. And you're looking through the pictures and stuff. But that's all you had. You didn't have a forum where people could post stuff or get spoilers or get previews. It didn't exist. So
Probably the super awesome Alpha magazine.
that's what it was. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about top 5 moments in Star Wars.
Yes.
Personally, you got to pick your own personal one.
Right, we're gonna go through. We haven't discussed this. There was no. We haven't shared lists, so this is all organic.
And so I think we're sticking with canon Star Wars.
Yes, yeah. I thought about. I had one extended universe thing that I almost added, but I did not add it because canon.
And okay, so let's not talk about extended universe then.
Okay, no, we could talk about it, but it won't be in the. Well, I guess no point talking about it if it's not in the top 5.
Well, I can't talk about it because I've never seen any of it. All my moments are from the original trilogy, and it was still really hard, so I don't know how you guys managed to do it with
I tried to
all
spread
of
mine
the
out.
Right. I
Clone
mean,
Wars, the prequel trilogy.
it's really not that hard when most of the content is bad. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, like, for me at least, I was like, okay, well, I'll try to kind of scatter. And then I was looking, and I was like, okay, the original trilogy has a lot of moments. Then I looked at the sequel trilogy, and I was like, yep, nothing. And then I went back to
Too
the...
Yeah, but Clone Wars,
Right, the
even
Clone
Star
Wars
Wars
made it
Rebels. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff there.
I also did a almost made it, like some honorable mentions.
Okay.
So, like,
I'm sure. I'm sure that we have
Okay,
overlap.
good.
I'm sure that we have.
That's what
some
I'm saying. I guarantee you there are at least 3 moments.
Okay, who wants to go first? And should we start with 5?
Let's
Or
go
fifth?
5 down to 1, one
Okay.
at a time.
Okay.
So I guess end of the table
Okay.
together.
So me first. Then?
Yeah, you first.
Okay. So my number 5, I picked number 5 as, and I tried to spread it out because I'm trying to be fair.
Okay,
I got
no, I
kids,
get
and I'm trying to be fair to all my kids, and I'm trying to be fair here too. So I went with the what's it called? The latest trilogy. What do we call that?
The sequel
Sequel
trilogy.
trilogy.
Okay, the sequel trilogy. I picked from there, and it's the connection between Rey and Ben when they have this mental connection and they really start to relate and discuss with each other. I thought that was really a good moment. It wasn't the best, but it was. It really changed Kylo Ren, right?
Mhm.
Because he was just like this dumb bad guy, and then he became this more interesting bad
Dumb
guy.
good guy.
A dumb good guy. But I like him. He's much more interesting than Snoke or Palpatine, who I think are kind of boring characters. So once they start relating to each other and having an interaction, that's my number 5.
That's actually one of the most important moments of the sequel trilogy to me. Like, I actually really enjoyed that part. I think they could have gone a little further with that relationship, and that would have made a more solid movie.
Yeah.
But like, that felt so almost out of place because it was so good.
Exactly. I kind of wish that they had chosen, not that I don't like that moment or moments. Those dialogue things that they would have. The towel scene notwithstanding. But the moments they would have were really,
I
really.
forgot about that one.
Yeah, they're some of the best dialogue exchanges in
Yeah,
any of them. Where
right.
they talk about like I love all the moments where they talk about the nature of like the whole good guy bad guy thing and like the whole like Ahsoka did a similar thing where she's talking about what makes the Jedi good and the Sith evil. It's like and they kind of had that same exchange. But I wish they had committed to a side because like with Kylo, for me at least, he never became a villain because he was this straddler. Like in Episode 7, he was clearly a villain and he was kind of a little bit soft. But they were going for that like Darth Vader hair, like a parent thing.
Angsty.
Yeah.
Right, he was like an angsty teen, like no one understands me.
He's what Anakin should have been
Well,
in the prequels. I
yeah,
think.
but it's just like 8 and 9, this whole thing where he never really commits to being bad or good until the very end. It's like, I don't know.
He killed his dad. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but he even then he did it. It was like a impulsive thing. It
Mm.
wasn't. I don't know. I just feel like they never committed. Like there was no
I
plan.
will have to add at the end in Episode 9. I think it kind of ruined it when they kissed. I didn't like that.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I think it would have been much more powerful to have this relationship. It's not a kiss thing, and I don't know. It's me. So
I agree with you. I think it should have been that
I mean,
she
I'm
was
fine with
making
them dying.
him
Yeah.
good, not
Yeah.
not so much romantic.
Right.
All right. So I guess moving on. So my
Hey,
number
hit yours.
5.
I like you. Yeah, I'm hiding it. So no one can see it.
Well, my number 5 is not a original trilogy moment, but it should be. It's the Rogue One Darth Vader scene. Just
Oh,
because
yeah, that's pretty cool.
pure
He
adrenaline.
was in there multiple times. Which one are you talking about?
The end.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. The Rogue One Vader scene, the 45 seconds of bliss at the end.
That one's pretty good.
It opened all black. You can't
Does
see
Grant know what
anything.
you're talking about? Because I know
I've
he's
seen that, yeah.
okay.
You've never seen Rogue One?
No, yeah, I've
Okay.
seen Rogue One. I haven't seen Solo
Oh, that's fine.
or Episode 9. I gave up after
Solo's
Episode
good.
8. I've heard
It's
it's
good.
different. I mean, now that I would watch it. I just never got to it.
it's on Netflix. I think.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But so I hear they added that in at the end. Also at the end of the movie, they didn't. It wasn't originally going to be in there.
Right. The director actually, or it might not have been the director, it might have been the screenwriter, but they sat there and he was like, "Hey, we have a really good opportunity here to literally bridge the end of Rogue One into the beginning of Episode 4." And just like not even just it's so cool that you can watch Rogue One and then immediately watch Episode 4 and it feels like one long movie. That's super cool. But what made it so powerful for me, as someone who did not grow up, in the 70s watching the original movies as they came out, that was like one of my Star Wars moments. I was like 15, 16, however old I was, and I was sitting in this theater, pitch black, you just see the smoke on the screen, and then you just hear the and we were all sitting there like, man, this, and then I started to piece together, because I had seen Episode 4 before I went to watch it, and I was like, they're about to give the thing to the guy who gives it to Leia, and just watching him, kill them so easily and use the Force is just, for me, that was, when I think of Darth Vader, that's what pops in my head.
And I think Darth Vader, he builds up. He doesn't really do very much in Episode 4,
Right.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
in Episode 6, I mean, 5 and 6, I think he does more, but they never show him as like this, I'm just going to destroy a whole bunch of people. And that's really the only time you see him like, I'm just going to go and just, annihilate.
Right.
And he just shows that, I'm just the Darth Vader that I
And-
really want to be. And I really also love the connection using the same, essentially, setup as the
Exactly,
in the
that's what I
ship,
was
and
gonna
it's the same iconic thing. And I even liked Princess Leia in that too. So, they redid her that. So.
And how he just walks. Like that's such a he never looks. He's not running. There's no sense of urgency. He's just walking at Darth Vader's pace through this hallway. And when he gets to you, you're gonna die. But he's in no hurry to get there.
You can't watch episode
That's
4.
true.
You can't watch episode 4 without first going back and watching the last bit of Rogue One. You just play that up and then play episode 4.
And I think
It
that
should be
says a lot.
part of episode 4.
Might be a bit of whiplash though when he goes from killing
quality.
a bunch of people to having kind of like an old man battle with Obi-Wan at the end of episode 4.
Okay.
Just,
So have you seen the fan redo of the Obi-Wan?
I actually just
Okay.
watched that last night.
That one's
Yeah,
really good.
It is
That's
pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so I guess Grant.
All right, so my number 5, I put the cave scene from episode 5 when Luke's training with Yoda, and he's kind of asking him a bunch of questions about kind of the good side of the Force versus the dark side of the Force, and then he kind of gets this feeling that like something's not right, and he enters into this cave where he feels like kind of darkness coming from, and he fights against an incarnate of Darth Vader, and when he kills him, and then it ends up being Luke's face under the mask. And to me, it kind of like speaks to Luke's own battle with good and evil, and kind of how he sees that if he like goes down the path of like trying to get power too quickly, that he can also turn to the dark side. So to me, it was like a very pivotal point for Luke's character in the whole
I think
trilogy.
they did that way better than they tried to do the same thing with Anakin in the prequels, right?
Mhm.
To show that he's like, oh, he might be a bad guy. And I think they did it more subtly in Empire Strikes Back, and also the visuals are just so, the Dagobah visuals are just like those color schemes and everything. It just,
Yeah, the practical sets and everything, where it's just it looks very, very real.
yeah, I like it.
And it's like I think you used the right word there with the subtlety. It's like the thing that the original trilogy did so well was that nothing was in your face.
Right.
Nothing was ever like the sequel trilogy. It's all very It's like
Way too
wow,
much.
that's so in my and
Way
the
too much.
original trilogy didn't do too much. It was very, it's hints and stuff. I like that, and it's all very quick.
Yeah, and it's kind of about Luke seeking power, but he's seeking it for the reason to help his friends, and it kind of goes down like the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Exactly.
And like he wants to save his friends, but he needs to do it in the right way, and like without Yoda to guide him, he could easily like have gone astray.
Mm-hmm. Yoda says that.
Yeah.
not exactly, but he gets the gist.
Do it or not, there is no try.
That's good.
To be good.
Okay, so I'm back on number 4. It's me, number 4.
Yes.
Okay. So it's also Empire Strikes Back, because I really do think it's probably the best movie. And it may just be because when I saw that, in my age, when I saw that, that was more important. But also, I think it's well directed, great content, everything. But the whole escape from Hoth scene, not the Battle of Hoth, but when Han Solo's trying to get the Millennium Falcon out and it's broken, and he's yelling at people, and you can feel the tension, and Darth Vader comes in. That whole scene, it's just high tension, good visuals. I feel like I'm Han because I'm trying to leave to go somewhere. My kids are not ready. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're trying to get out of here, and you're taking this apart.
We all feel
this
like
goes there,
Han
that goes there.
sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like that, especially when I'm trying to pack, or if it's a hurricane, I'm trying to evacuate. We're like, get the stuff, let's go. We gotta go. We can't do anything.
Right, as Han has
And
done
I
so
can-
many
right.
times.
And I relate to that, and I just, and then the Millennium Falcon takes off, and you see Luke Skywalker walking to his ship. I don't know, just.
That is a great scene. I love in those original scenes how the Empire, just like Darth Vader, they're never really in a hurry to get anywhere. They're all just standing there with their arms crossed, just coming in, and everybody's watching. You're like, oh no, here they come. It's just different.
Yeah.
The movies were different back then.
Yeah,
Great
sure.
scene.
Thank you.
All right, so
Number 4.
my number 4. You guys might think this is a little low, but I have the "I love you, I know" exchange.
Add that in my honorable mentions for sure.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure what to say about it. It's just,
I know.
It's just
I know.
one of those. I know. Yeah. I love you. No, but it's just one of
I know.
those exchanges that when you think of cinema, not just Star Wars, that has to be one of the 2025 iconic and the original trilogy have 3 or 4 of those that would be in the top 25 moments in cinema history. But just even the backstory of it, how Harrison Ford didn't like the dialogue that they'd written for him in the scene, so he just started freestyling it, and that the whole thing was just a nonchalant exchange that wasn't written into the script. Just the whole thing, and how much there are these moments that Han Solo has, that moment and a couple others in the original trilogy, where you really get to see his character, like the smuggler, sarcastic.
I think if you look at Han Solo in Episode 4, Harrison Ford playing Han Solo in Episode 4, I don't feel like I buy it. I buy Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. I think he does a great job. But then once Han Solo gets into Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I think he becomes a much better. Maybe he became a better actor. I don't know, but there's something different between Episode 4 and 5 and 6 for Harrison Ford. 5 and 6, maybe it's the dialogue's better. I don't know, but he's kind of kooky in Episode 4. I mean, he's kind of like. He's not that great.
He might have bought in, I think.
Maybe.
Because before Episode 4, they didn't know what they were signing up for. They had no idea that they were signing up for what was going to become iconic.
Next time we watch it, think about Harrison Ford in Episode 4, and then, of course, in Episode 5 and 6, he's great.
Great.
But in Episode 4, I don't think he does it.
Well,
that's just me.
I love you. I know
Harrison Ford. I know he's going to watch this. Okay?
Right. No,
so I'm not dissing you. I love everything you do. So
I think he got more freedom as the movies went on too. They realized that, like, if you're gonna write this character that's kind of loose cannon, off the cuff, you cannot, especially someone like Harrison Ford, who is that in real life. Like, he's very much a Han Solo figure. He doesn't really abide by the rules and stuff, and he doesn't play by the rules. But I don't know, if you're gonna write a character like that, you need to let him have that freedom. And just that, when I think of Han Solo, that's the moment I think of he's facing death, and he's just so smirky and confident.
It just perfectly defines his relationship with Leia too.
Exactly.
It's just so like nonchalant, and like, I mean, it really just kind of also goes to like how kind of the love aspect of the story is kind of downplayed as well. Like, it's a part of the story, but it's not the main thing. So I like how it's kind of just,
and it feels
so
organic.
Yeah.
It's like an Alex Honnold moment when he says, that's another reason I like. That's the guy from Free Solo, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was really worried about who was going to play Han Solo, but I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, Alex Honnold or Harrison Ford?
Whatever.
Harrison Ford.
All
right, number 4.
So number 4 kind of goes off of my last point about Luke battling between good and evil, and it's when he comes to Jabba's palace to rescue Han Solo from the carbonite, and I like how he's a lot darker, like he's more unkempt, and
he's wearing all the black.
He's kind of using the Force in ways that don't really behoove like a Jedi. I guess
Qui-Gon wouldn't have approved.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
And like, I like how it's just taking Luke to a darker place, and it's it kind of goes to straying away from Yoda's training, because he leaves Dagobah before he finishes his training with Yoda, and it kind of teaches himself some things, and then he's talking with Jabba with just like utmost confidence, and he's like, basically do my commands or like I'll destroy you, kind of thing.
I mean, it shows how powerful he gets,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And I think, and this is the thing about the extended universe that we're not going to talk about, but in the books in the extended universe, I mean, Luke's like the man, right?
Right.
He's like super powerful Jedi. It's
Right.
kind of cool. But.
And they do such a good job in the original trilogy of those mic drop moments. Like, I remember when I watched them all in succession for the first time, and
Now what does that mean? That means 4 first or 1 first?
4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Like, I watched them in one day with my dad, and when you go from
The
episode
original
5,
or the redo? The enhanced version. What are they
I want to say they were the enhanced version. I mean, it was
Yeah, you can't find the original version.
probably the enhanced version, but when you go from episode 5 to that moment in episode 6, I mean, that opens the movie, and you remember Luke as he's wearing the light white clothes, and then he drops in wearing all black with a green lightsaber, just no facial
hair.
expressions.
Yeah.
Did you see the cut scene where they show Luke giving fixing his lightsaber and then giving it to R2-D2 right before he goes to see Jabba?
I've seen it.
That's really great. They should put that in the movie. You haven't seen that, have you? Oh,
It's pretty cool.
it's like outside of the original trilogy, so I'm not gonna watch it. Right, Grant?
Yeah. I've seen
Grant's a
some.
hater.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think it really just showcases Luke's development as a character, and it kind of makes you wonder further if he actually will stray to the dark side.
Right, and it's a sense of urgency in that scene. This is the last movie, and you can tell that he has a job to do. You know what I mean? And he's gonna do it. Like, he's powerful, and he's not playing games. There's no
For sure.
There's no doubt in Luke anymore. He's just there, and he's ready to go. That's a good moment.
So it's back to me.
Back to you.
Okay, so I have it's a broad, it's wide, but I think it's going to count anyway. And I'm calling this the rise of Ahsoka.
Okay.
Because, I think Ahsoka is, for me, a really significant character, especially now. But if you think about when she started in the Clone Wars cartoon, which they've used Clone Wars so many different times, right?
Right.
It's hard to say Clone Wars and no one knows what you're talking about, because which one are you talking about?
I would say now.
What's
the show?
Is it called Clone Wars, the one with the Baby Yoda in it?
What do you mean?
It was a cartoon movie, and it had Baby Yoda.
Well, that was Star Wars: The Clone Wars,
Yeah.
and then it had a subtitle.
Is it canon? It is canon.
Yeah, it is canon.
And that was the first Ahsoka, right? Okay.
That was what
Making
launched
sure.
the show.
But she started off as this, teenager type Jedi, kind of annoying, pretty annoying. She was pretty annoying in that movie.
She was a pander to the kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
that's
that's
what she
true.
was.
But then if you look at her development in Clone Wars the series, what's that called?
The Clone Wars.
Okay, and then even more important than when she came into Star Wars Rebels, the show, and now I'm so super excited that she's going to be in The Mandalorian. I mean, her character development is just, and how she went from someone that was kind of annoying to one of the heavy hitters in the whole
Right.
franchise. I mean, people say, "Oh, Luke Skywalker." No one. I think Ahsoka is more popular than Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm so glad we got to Ahsoka. She's on my list. Spoiler alert.
And I want to see her in live action. I mean, that's
Me too.
how many characters have we had jump from cartoon to live action? I think Saw Gerrera,
That's all I can think of.
and I think there was one other, but no one important.
Right. No major character.
Oh, Rex, because he was in Return. of the
Yeah.
Jedi.
Well, that's kind of cheating a little bit, but they did confirm that was
Okay.
right. So I'm so glad we got to Ahsoka. This is I'm gonna pretend I'm talking to Grant because he has not watched the Clone
You
Wars.
sell him on Ahsoka.
Yeah, I just want to. I'm gonna speak for. I don't know how many people are gonna listen to this, but anyone who's
my
in
mom,
my
mom.
age bracket, like 16 to like 26, like that. Anyone who's that age and a big Star Wars fan, all of us, well, except for Grant apparently, but the rest of us all will tell you that we grew up with the way that you grew up watching Luke, come into his own as a Jedi and become a master and take down Darth Vader. That was Ahsoka for my generation. I spent 10 years watching her turn from that annoying, kind of character, and by the end, that show brought me to tears a couple of times. She's so powerful, and more so than her power, I guess, like you said, the rise of Ahsoka. It's just she is Star Wars.
Wouldn't that have been a
Like,
better
she
movie
encapsulates what
The
Star
Rise
Wars
of
is.
Skywalker, Rise of Ahsoka.
100%. Ahsoka's, but you can't. I think that's the issue with the Disney content. A lot of it is that Ahsoka grew organically over the
Yeah.
course of 10 years, and they had all the time in the world to make her the character she became. If they had to do the Ahsoka story over the course of 9 hours and 3 movies, she would be nowhere near the character she is today.
But I think also that's a big. I see a giant distinction between the movies and the other content, and that the movies are focused on bigger issues and Skywalker centric stuff, whereas Clone Wars, a cartoon series, they can focus on the clones, right? And they can have these great, compelling stories about clones, and they don't even have a Jedi in them.
Right.
Rogue One doesn't even really have a Jedi in it. It's a great movie, and so that is a movie though. But the main sequence of movies, they're too focused on Skywalkers.
I agree with that, and you definitely should at some point watch the Clone Wars, if not, because it is the first season's a little rough to get through, just because it's more a kids show at that point. But as it goes on, and one thing that it's hard for me to talk about the prequels now, because what the Clone Wars did was it justifies the prequels in a lot of ways. There's so many holes, but if you've seen the Clone Wars and you watch the prequels, these errors in the movies that just you cannot explain them. What the Clone Wars did was they fill in all these gaps.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like Darth Maul.
I think Clone Wars. There's nothing bad about Clone. Well, maybe I haven't rewatched the first season, but I mean, Clone Wars is pretty good.
It's amazing. Yeah. And how to justify the prequels is pretty crazy what they did. All right, so number 3 for me, we're going back to the.
I like your paper is not even normal. It's like cut out.
I actually cut out a shipping label this morning out of this paper, so eBay,
Okay, cool.
Anyway, so number 3, episode 4, the Death Star attack run, with all of them in the cockpits.
You just put that in there for Grant. You're like, I'm going to do something that Grant will know what it is.
No, I was sitting there and I was thinking, and that was one of the first moments that came to my head, and all the iconic dialogue scenes with the troopers. I just love the camera angles too, where it shows them in the cockpit and they're all talking to each other, and it cuts from one to the other, and then they start going down. And
Yeah, I want to talk about that too, because that's actually my my number 2 moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I think we should have overlap. I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't tell each other what was in our top 5, so we're gonna have some, probably like reoccurrences. But yeah, I mean, to me that scene just kind of, it does a good job of kind of portraying like the sacrifice and loss on the side of the rebels, because essentially everybody dies except for Luke that's involved with the mission. Like, everyone's just getting taken out.
A Wedge.
I mean,
Wedge, and there's one other guy.
The bigger guy. No, he dies too.
No, Porkins. Yeah.
You know their names.
Porkins dies.
Hey, I know.
I thought Porkins got hammered. But yeah, I just like how, I mean, you don't really know these characters, but you kind of get like the human aspect from them, and then they're just kind of getting wiped out, and then just the whole moment where Luke kind of, this is the first time he truly believes in himself when he turns off
the Force.
The targeting, exactly. And he starts buying into the Force when he turns off the targeting computer. And then like it's just like a very triumphant way to end the first movie as well.
I think this scene, this whole scene, is one of the reasons. I mean, one of the parts where they did the enhanced version, they redid a lot of the scenes, and this one they actually made a lot better. Right?
Oh yeah.
Because they 1977 technology versus 2001 technology. Whenever they had that, and they put in CGI versions of the X-wings, it did enhance it quite a bit.
Making space look better and all of the debris floating and
Yeah.
stuff. But it's just, when I think of fun Star Wars moments, that what makes Star Wars great is that ability to take something that's so out there, something that was just so, it didn't exist before George Lucas. Like, there was no Star Wars, there was no like.
Well, it was 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Right, but there was
which
no.
one came first? I can't remember which came first. Space Odyssey.
Pretty sure that Star Wars came.
But
first.
I remember watching Space Odyssey after I saw Star Wars. It came, I had it on VHS. So you like Star Wars? You like 2001? Which, by the way, it is an awesome movie. Okay.
Space Odyssey? Yeah.
Okay.
Very different.
But
movie,
it's very different. It's not
slow.
Not, right. So
It's a
it's
slow
very
burn.
slow, but it is good.
But
But it's not the same.
There was no narrative space opera.
Right.
And I mean, that's a great example. I wasn't going to say a Space Odyssey, but that's a great example of what I'm talking about. That is a science fiction movie, but the thing about Space Odyssey, there's no fun in that movie. It's a narrative, but there's no adventure, no sense of fun and wonders.
What about the monkeys at the beginning?
I guess the creepy baby things.
And Star Wars is not science fiction anyway, so.
Oh my gosh, we're doing this again. It's fun. Star Wars is fun. Okay, moving on. Your turn, Brett. Number 2.
Wait, I thought you just did the space.
Oh, you're right.
I guess it's my turn. So my number 3 is the fight scene between Luke and Darth Vader, and kind of Vader's redemption at the end.
Wait, it's the original trilogy scene. I'm surprised.
No way. I thought for sure he's gonna.
So you're talking about Return of the Jedi?
Yes, I thought Return of the
Do you mean
Jedi.
Mace Windu versus Palpatine?
Mace
my,
Windu?
my number 1 is actually the sand scene in episode.
Oh, my kids make fun of that all the time.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, but
So you're talking about Darth Vader versus Luke in Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, yeah. When they kind of actually fight, he kind of gets his butt kicked in episode 5 when the guy just chases him around and cuts his hand off. But the actual time when they fight, and like this kind of Emperor Palpatine trying to manipulate Luke throughout the fight, kind of getting him to like come over to his side, getting him to use the dark side of the Force, use his anger, give into emotion, and then he does, and he just basically starts wailing on Darth Vader, and like
it shows that that's a lesson for us all. If you get angry, you're pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So we should get angry more often.
That's what I got from it.
You could probably break that 15-minute thing if you got angry when you ran.
I would run a 12-minute 5K if I was that angry.
I like it too because it's black on black. They're both wearing black, and I like that.
There's so much. That's such a good point. How in the original trilogy, there's so many things that if you watch it, it's not stated. The colors and the way things are framed.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the dialogue that's going on during the fight as well. Luke's kind of trying to coax Darth Vader over to the good side, saying, I know there's still good in you, I can feel it. And like Darth Vader's fighting it the whole time. But then like I think it finally unlocks it within him whenever he sees like his son being killed by
being
Palpatine
fried
with the lightning. And his redemption is just one of the things that kind of makes the movie so great. Like when he gives up everything, and
makes
then
the trilogy great. It's
Now, the one thing I really don't like about that, and it's just a personal thing, it's Mark Hamill's hair. It's got that goofy bang thing. Now, his hair in the previous 2 movies I thought were really good, but that hair,
Luke definitely should have got some hair gel leading up to
I don't
that
know. I
fight.
mean, his episode 4 and 5 hair was really good, but his Return of the Jedi hair. And I know Mark Hamill's probably gonna watch this because he's big on Twitter. So
Yes.
I'm not.
I'm
you know,
sorry,
you know
Mark.
I'm a fan. I'm a
Well,
fan, right?
The way he looked in episode 6, even with no hair, is so much better than the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
We got old, busty Mark Hamill. He's like, I'm Luke. I don't like this Jedi thing
Hobo
anymore.
Hamill.
Yeah, we got Hobo Luke.
I liked it.
I'm not even comfortable calling that a fight scene, to be honest, because like what makes it great is the dialogue exchanges, like you said, because it is technically a fight scene, but there's not a whole lot of fighting going on.
And
It's-
Luke versus Vader.
Yeah,
He
it's
chopped
about
off his hand.
And that one there is. I mean, I can agree with that for the other lightsaber fights in the original trilogy, where it's more of like a storytelling element than like a fight. But I mean, in that one, it actually is a big step above anything else that happened in the original.
Oh right, that's not a
trilogy.
knock on it. It's just like when you compare it to something like Obi-Wan Anakin, where it's so scripted and the dun 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 dun, and it's just like 10
It's too
minutes,
much.
15 minutes of fighting.
Too much for me.
There's not a whole lot of like extended combat, but what makes the scene so great is that every chance they have, there's like you said, Luke trying to convince Vader, and then Palpatine and Luke's here, and he's basically telling him, I want you to kill Vader, because if you
Yeah.
give in and you kill Vader, you become the new Darth Vader.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
it's just that's what makes it seem powerful, because it's more than just a fight scene. It's the fruition of these 3 movies of narrative.
It's a discussion during a fight. Whereas like the Anakin versus Obi-Wan in episode 3 is mostly just a fight with a discussion.
Right, it's a fight with a
Right.
admittedly
those
pretty good
better.
discussion at the end.
Yeah.
But it pales in comparison to.
Yeah, it's just kind of we were talking about before the show started, kind of substance versus style. I mean,
Right.
I feel like episode 3 gets lost in the style, and they're just trying
The
to
sauce,
show off.
even.
They're trying to show off. They got lost in the sauce for sure. But I mean, they kind of got lost in the kind of spectacle of trying to prove they could do all these great things with special effects, and then you kind of lose some of the emotion of the fight when it's stretched over 30 minutes.
Oh yeah,
Jumping
the special
around
effects
like
got out of control. I agree.
Agreed. That's a good
Okay,
pick.
I'm on number 2. I'm on number 2, right? Yeah.
Yes, number 2.
So my number 2, I picked this for Grant because outside of the sequel, the original trilogy,
We got you.
Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul in Star Wars Rebels.
I was yes.
So Obi-Wan, you know him.
See, he won't
Heard
understand
that.
any of the context of this because you have to watch the Clone Wars to really.
Yeah.
get
So in episode 1, Darth Maul, gets chopped in half by Obi-Wan, but doesn't die. Spoiler alert. And then he does have a recurring role in a lot of different places. And I think Darth Maul is a great villain that reappears, and he's way better in everything else than he was in episode 1 because he didn't really do anything in
He does
episode 1.
nothing.
Yeah, he's an idea, not a character.
Right.
Yeah.
So the in Rebels, which started off as a pretty bad series to tell you the truth, it's like Star Wars for kids with Space Aladdin and Purple Chewbacca
Space
and Crazy R2D2. That's the cast right there. It's not even
It's
that's not even a stretch. It's Space Aladdin. He's Aladdin in space, right?
It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
But so at one point Darth Maul's like obsessed with. And he's not Darth anymore, is he? He's just Maul.
Yeah, he does the same thing Ahsoka does.
Yeah, he's just Maul. He's like, I got to kill Obi-Wan because he ruined my life. He finds Obi-Wan on Tatooine and he approaches him, and then Obi-Wan kills him. But it's a really short fight, but it's very powerful. I thought.
I agree. So another example of the I'm just gonna call it the Clone Wars content because I kind of bunch Rebels in. The good stuff in Rebels is a continuation of Clone Wars, like with the characterization but
It's same style.
same
right?
style and well it's kind of it's the same narrative just
Okay.
over the but anyway that's a great example of that show legitimizing something that wasn't great. Because Darth Maul was cool. He was kind of like Boba Fett. It was like, oh, look at this cool looking Sith with the dual lightsaber. That's so cool. But
And the spider legs.
well, that wasn't in the movie.
I know that was. Like,
But it's just when
I'm just throwing this stuff in there for Grant. 'Cause, like,
to make him watch it.
Darth
I've
Maul,
heard a little bit
spider
about this
legs?
stuff
What?
just through the grapevine. I've never seen any of it.
Well, you should watch it through the iVine because it's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
I'd watch it.
But it's just like what they do with Maul. He's kind of the anti-Ahsoka throughout the show.
Yeah, no, good.
Because her whole storyline, not to spare you, the details, is that she becomes disenchanted with the Jedi, and she becomes something way greater than she ever could have been as a Jedi, by leaving. And what Maul does, he becomes disenchanted with the Sith because as soon as he was killed by Obi-Wan, even though he was the first Sith to kill, it's the other way around. He was the first Jedi to kill a Sith in 1,000 years, but he was one of the first Sith to kill a Jedi in a long time when he killed Qui-Gon. Palpatine moved on right away to Dooku, and it just showed him that the Sith were flawed, and he becomes a villain but not a Sith. And
Well,
it's
even
just so
even
cool.
he even becomes a mentor for Space Aladdin,
Yeah.
right? Which is kind of weird and kind of good. I really liked Darth Maul.
Well, he becomes
Maul.
the same thing for
Maul.
Ahsoka. He's like a
Yeah.
voice in her ear that he's like,
Yeah.
hey, the Jedi are evil just as much as the Sith. Like, we can run this if you just team up with me. And he's such a intelligent character in the Clone Wars. He's more than powerful. He's very, very smart. And he's just, and the nuances of that scene specifically, so I think I've told you this, but when Maul and Obi-Wan fight for the last time, it's less than a minute, the whole exchange. It's not long.
It's really short.
Really short.
That's what the conversation.
But it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's so good.
The,
And
the conversation, the dialogue is amazing, and the way that Obi-Wan kills him is he takes the same stance that Qui-Gon took in the movie.
Episode 1.
Episode 1, right. When Darth Maul's about to attack him, he takes the exact same stance, and then when Maul attacks him, he attacks him the same way he attacked Qui-Gon, and then Obi-Wan cuts him off, cuts through the middle, cuts his lightsaber in half and goes right down his chest. And it's so efficient. He kills him the exact way Qui-Gon should have, and then he catches him, and they talk about Luke and how he's the chosen one and how he's going to avenge both of them, even though they're on opposite ideologies. It's just very powerful.
I mean, and for you, it's all about Darth Maul, but for me, it's about Obi-Wan, who's my favorite character. And after the original trilogy, in the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars stuff, I mean, Obi-Wan's my favorite character, and this really shows Obi-Wan too. So
it does highlight his.
yeah, Obi-Wan's my favorite character now. So would you? No one would have said that in Star Wars. Oh, Obi-Wan, because he's this old guy, right?
I love
But-
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but now he's awesome. Now he's awesome.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because if you just had Ben Kenobi,
Yeah, that's
probably not your favorite
I mean,
character.
not your favorite. He's not like your Jedi guy. I mean, I think he was cool and stuff, but he didn't really have that big of a role. And especially after episode 4, spoiler alert, he died. Yeah. So.
Yeah, General Kenobi is a lot cooler than Ben.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
and,
true.
and it was in the which movie was it in where they show him first on a speeder bike and he's wearing clone trooper armor? You don't know that it's him. It may have been in one of the non-canon shows, and then he gets in a fight with a guy and it turns out that it's Obi-Wan, but he's wearing clone trooper armor.
Oh, that's the Clone Wars, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all clones. See, that's the thing. They're all clone wars.
That's true. If you said the Clone Wars, you're probably right.
Yeah.
If it's before it's great pick. I like it. Oh, is it me now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So number 2, I have No, I Am Your Father.
And I like how you said it correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. So the exchange is, do you know what happened to your father, right? And then he says,
I
you
know.
killed my father.
Mhm.
And he says,
Obi-Wan
no.
Obi-Wan told me enough. He told me you killed him.
Yeah. No, I am your father. And then, no. It's just, you don't really have to say anything. Iconic.
You're just doing that again for Grant.
No,
I feel bad. You're like, I invited Grant here and he doesn't know anything about the original trilogy.
Well, here's the reality of the situation, is that, for me at least, this is an opinion, but I think it's a pretty popular opinion. When you look at Star Wars content, there's a tier at the top, and it's the original trilogy and the Clone Wars, and a few things. Yeah, I would put Rogue One up there. Some people wouldn't. And then you have, some stuff, and then everything else is below it. And so the original trilogy is just it stands on its own.
But the original
Especially
trilogy
episode
is
5,
well
my
known.
opinion.
Right.
It's so well known where people don't know how good Clone Wars is because they never watch it, but everyone's watched the original trilogy.
In 10 years, I think Clone Wars will be revered in the same way that Avatar is now. Like, they're going to take it off Netflix, and then in 8 years, 2026 or something, they're going to add it back to Netflix, and I'll be 30, and I'll be
30.
like,
Oh.
You watch it with your kids.
right, I'll be like, the Clone Wars, when I was growing up, that was cool, let me tell you.
But the Darth Vader moment, the Darth Vader, I'm your father thing, I remember the stunner. I mean, again, pre-internet, right? The stunner. And we're like, wait, what? He was lying, right? And we discussed this how long did we discuss this?
For
What,
a
3
year?
years?
Yeah.
3 years
Yeah.
until Return of the Jedi came out. We're like, wait, and it was just mind blowing. And now I have to say, I was younger. Okay, I wasn't super young, but after episode 4, we would debate with my friends: is Darth Vader a human or a robot? So,
Oh, true.
and are the stormtroopers robots? But
That makes
I
me
know
so
they're
sad.
not. They're not. But we
Right.
I wish that I could have known that, like, to not, because there is no way you could have, I mean, I guess you could have got lucky, but you could not have guessed that Darth Vader was Luke's father.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
like
so cool.
I mean, it's obvious in hindsight, I mean, like, there's some stuff you can look at where kind of like Obi-Wan's kind of like teasing toward it. But I mean, if you had never seen anything, like if you're watching them as they come out, you'd have to be like really looking into stuff to like predict that he's gonna be
Right.
Luke's
I
father.
don't think you could.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
There
really
was no
possible.
BuzzFeed. There was
Right.
no game.
Well, even the actors didn't know. Even the guy playing Darth Vader didn't know what he was saying. Then they had James Earl Jones say that, But the guy that was in the Darth Vader suit, he didn't say that.
That's true.
So he didn't even know.
That's a good point. For the keen eye.
Yeah. Well, I've read a lot of Star Wars stuff.
Well,
He's got here. He uses number 2.
yeah. Your number 2 was
Yeah. It's number 2. You want to go my number 1, or you want to just like
send it back. And
Okay.
then that will go 1-1-1.
Okay, I'm excited. Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. So I'm broadening it out. I was originally gonna say the Rebel fleet arriving at Scarif in the end of Rogue One, but I'm gonna put that whole Battle of Scarif scene as my top. I mean, that is iconic Star Wars battle scene. There's no better battle scene than the Battle of Scarif at the end of Rogue One, but in particular when the Rebel fleet jumps out of hyperspace to save the day, and then the X-Wings are zooming down in the ground battle, and it's the best. It's the best. Okay, second best would be the space battle in Return of the Jedi. I thought that was pretty good. Lots of ships and everything, but you cannot beat it. You can't beat it.
I like your objectivism.
Yeah.
Even though you grew up with the original.
No, it's so good. It's like it's the best space battle ever. And the ground battle is pretty good too.
Rogue One was so good.
Oh,
it was so good. I had.
Have you never watched Rogue One?
I've seen it. I didn't really like it.
Oh, what the heck?
Hater. He's a hater.
I mean, K2SO, you like him, right?
No.
You like Captain Andean, or what's the guy's name? The
Hispanic.
Yeah,
captain.
he's so good.
Big fan.
Cause he's like, oh man, I hate this, but I don't want to get caught, so I'm just gonna shoot you. And he's like,
at the beginning.
Yeah, he's like, all these things. He's a bad guy. The guy's a bad guy.
I love street level Star Wars.
Oh,
I love when it's not necessarily the fantastical adventures of Jedi and stuff. I agree with you. I think that's a great scene. It's not in my top 5, but it is in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
And it's
my top 1.
Rogue One is so good.
Number 1.
If you would put down the haterade while watching Star Wars.
I saw it in theaters. I didn't like it.
But you probably smuggled in a bottle of haterade in between scenes.
Yeah, you gotta watch it again.
I did.
Yeah.
You came in. You're like, it's not a original trilogy. It doesn't matter.
If it didn't come out before 1984, I don't even regard it as Star Wars.
Okay.
After 1984.
Before, if it didn't come out before.
Oh, if it didn't come out before. Okay.
No, see, my hatred of everything not original trilogy didn't really begin until I went with my friend to go watch the premiere of Episode 7. And my friend is a really big Star Wars fan. I consider myself a Star Wars fan too at the time. Like,
you got the wrong guy for this podcast.
I still do to an extent. But and the whole thing was we watched all the movies leading up to the Episode 7. So we watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like back to back to back to back. And it's kind of like a torture experience, especially Episodes 1 and 2 were really rough to get through.
I mean, the sequel trilogy just tries too hard. There's a lot of great stuff in there, but they just try too hard, right?
There's no consistency. That's my problem.
Yeah, and no consistency, and they try too hard. So I still enjoy them. I'm still a Star Wars guy. I'm not gonna be you. I'm still gonna enjoy them.
I thought 7 was okay. I didn't think it was like super special.
You mean 4 again?
4
again?
Yeah, basically.
Episode 4 again?
Yeah, nothing really groundbreaking done with the story. But Episode 8 is when they really lost me. I mean, I just thought it was just wheel spinning the movie. Like nothing really gets accomplished.
My question is, what's your problem with Rogue One?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't really find any of the characters very interesting.
What?
It just didn't really. I mean, I can't remember any of the characters' names. Like they didn't really.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I know.
There's Jen Erso.
Okay. Yeah.
She was cool.
She was okay.
I mean, but they're not supposed to be. It's a one-off movie. You know what's gonna happen. The whole point of the movie is to show you how they got the plans.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a narrative. You know what? That's a different conversation.
Yeah. It's probably, for me, it's probably the second, maybe the first best movie in Star Wars after Empire Strikes Back. So.
I think it's in the top 3.
Yeah.
Personally, but
That's fine.
All right, Graham. You won't get an invitation to the next podcast. All right, my number 1. So this is a little bit of a weird pick. I think you'll understand it. You definitely won't, but you should watch it. Again, selling you.
I might.
So, number 1, Ahsoka buries the 501st Legion, slash, because it's back to back, Vader's last moments as Anakin Skywalker. So
wait, those are 2 different things.
no, I wrote them as the way that they. So it shows Ahsoka with the helmets buried in the ground, and then what I'm referring to is with the next scene where it shows Vader years later walking through the snow picking up her lightsaber, and it's very very subtle, but in the scene he looks to the sky and you see his blue eyes, like through the mask.
I'll allow it.
Well, the director said that he intended on Twitter. He was like, that was that was when he picked up Ahsoka's lightsaber, and right, he thinks she's dead. He doesn't know she's alive, and so he picks up her lightsaber, and he realizes that at this point, there's so much I could say, but he realizes that at that point there's no going back.
You're getting a little emotional, aren't you?
I'm gonna cry. There's no going back. He killed all the younglings. He wiped out the Jedi, and he killed what was essentially a daughter to him. You know, he loved her like a daughter, and when he looks up and you see Anakin's face one last time, and he realizes there's no going back. He's Darth Vader now. He's stuck in this
Not
suit.
until Return of the Jedi.
Right, but at the time. And just, not even just that, more so the first part of it, the end of the Clone Wars. Wow.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I'm like, Grant, come on. You gotta wait. The last 4 episodes of the
Oh
Clone
my
Wars,
gosh.
okay, now the
crazy.
3 episodes before that, they were pretty bad. Okay.
I wouldn't say bad.
I mean, the whole Ahsoka with Trace and the other girl, it just wasn't good.
I like the mall content.
Okay.
I mean, but it's so cool. Just to
It was
wait
a great
years
scene,
for
and
it.
the great, and it's animation, so it's kind of hard to say. But the camera angle and everything and the colors, they did a really great job. You're right.
It's so great, and it looks and the right, like you said, the shot composition where it's Ahsoka to the back with her Jedi hood, and you just see all of the helmets with I forget his name, but the second in command at the front, Jesse.
Yeah.
And what really hit me was how right before that scene, and it's so heart wrenching because you know it's coming, that they painted their masks to look like Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because they were so loyal to her.
Kill her.
They were so they were so glad to be doing a mission with Ahsoka again because she wasn't a Jedi, and they painted their mask with the orange things to show her just how loyal they were to her and how they were. The 501st was for Ahsoka.
You know what really makes you sad
And then
about
they
that?
turn on her.
What really makes you sad about that whole thing is that it's so good and Grant has watched it.
It's true.
See, I want to watch it. I mean,
You can. You have the.
I know. It's just it's a long show.
It
But
is.
I do think like an animated series is one of the best ways you can tell a story. So I mean,
You have no limitations.
Or series in general, and I you know, like the same thing was true with Mandalorian. You break it into tell a much longer story and go into these side things that you couldn't normally do in a 2-hour movie.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like when you turn a book into a movie, you just lose a lot of things in
Yeah.
translation because you just can't possibly do that. But yeah, number one, Ahsoka,
That's a good one.
great.
I think you had a good choice. Not as good as mine, but that's fine.
All right.
So my number one is kind of more of like a.
Is it from the original trilogy?
No, so
Oh.
okay, yeah, it is. Yeah, so I just like the way the whole trilogy is wrapped up at the end, and I love the little celebration on Endor with the Ewoks like banging on the
Seriously?
stormtroopers'
Yeah.
heads. Like, I mean, I watched it when I was young. Like, I mean, if you watched the original trilogy when you were young, you loved the Ewoks. And if
Yeah.
you watch it when you're older, you probably hate them because they're annoying, and I get that. But
But when they bang on helmets,
I mean, it was just good. I love the celebration at the end with with the dead Jedi looking on, with Anakin and Obi-Wan looking on, like, you know, and they kind of, it's just a
Yoda.
nice Yoda,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
got young Anakin in the.
Yeah, they replayed
that was really weird.
It was strange.
I didn't like that at all. But,
What makes him decide what age he is when he comes back? How come Obi-Wan didn't come back as young?
Right, exactly. Luke doesn't even know who that is.
Yeah.
He's standing there. He's like, "Who are you?"
But yeah, I just think it's just a great way to wrap up the trilogy with just a nice celebration. Like, that's the part I really loved as a kid.
It's a great way to wrap it up before you start again and go back with
Yes.
prequels, right?
Yeah,
Again,
sadly.
and again.
I mean, it's not a bad scene. It really isn't, especially after the whole movie of Return of the Jedi. It does kind of give a good ending. So,
I agree. Good pick. Good pick.
okay, we're done now. What do you do now? We just end.
You wanna just real quick roll through the honorable mentions?
I didn't have any honorable mentions.
Well, they're on my phone.
Okay.
Well, I remember one of my honorable
I
mentions.
could go on forever. I could go on forever about top Star Wars moments. So
I think
I
you went
actually
over
was
it.
gonna put something from. I wanted to put something in the Mandalorian. Something about Darksaber at the end, or maybe something about when he goes back to save Baby Yoda. But I didn't put it in there.
I think when we have an Ahsoka moment, then it might crack
Oh,
the top
man.
5. When
And-
her entrance.
And Rex.
Yes.
Rex gonna be in the Mandalorian. I mean, what the heck? I need this show now.
It's gonna be amazing. Well, the 3 I remember off the top of my head that I struggled with a lot, like not putting in the top 5, was Obi-Wan versus Anakin. It's iconic, it's gonna stand the test of time. And the dialogue at the end, "You're my brother, Anakin." It didn't make the top 5, but it was close. And I was a kid when I watched it, but
You're still a kid.
that's true. I'm a boy. But, and then another one was Kanan's death in Rebels. I really liked Kanan. He was a really cool character. Blind, super.
I like him.
I like the whole didn't finish his training, self-taught aspect.
I
Really
like,
cool.
I like him.
And then what was the other one? I forgot the other one. It was Kanan. Oh, and Ahsoka versus Vader.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Except for
really cool.
Space Aladdin's interjection in the middle.
Yeah, that was so
What
bad.
really ruined it. I mean, that fight scene, and also Ahsoka versus Darth Maul at the end of Clone Wars is really good too.
Really
So, I
good.
mean, probably. Oh man, I gotta rewatch that.
The Vader one is so cool because I mean, obviously the fighting is cool with like the double block to talk to Space Aladdin. But what made it so cool was
Grant's sitting over there like, yeah. I know.
I love that part.
I like when we talked about this yesterday. I like when she hits him with the lightsaber, and she can see that small cutout of his face, and it's enough for her to tell it's Anakin. And his voice is it's you hear both Anakin's voice and Darth Vader's voice at the same time, and he says Ahsoka, and his eyes for a second lose that like angry, the eyebrow thing, and they go to normal for a second, and then he says Ahsoka, and then she goes Anakin, I won't leave you again, and then he goes right back to Vader. Well, then you will die. It's just
You're right. It was pretty good, and the best thing about that is the redemption story of the story itself of Rebels, where it started off really bad
right.
with Space Aladdin and his lightsaber shooter. So then you even forgot about that. Like, man, that was so great. It was so bad, and then he just moved on.
And then
Even
Ahsoka came in and
Space
saved
Aladdin,
him.
I think, improved himself. You know, I think the dark Space Aladdin at the end, you know, wasn't so bad, right? It's the early Space Aladdin. I keep calling him that because I'm going to do that.
I mean, that's all I think of now. I forgot his name yesterday. I was like,
his name right now.
Space Ezra.
Ezra.
You're right. Ahsoka just saved the day. So those are my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Yes, I think I had like 6 or 7, but the one I think that almost made my list was
Original trilogy?
Yeah. So I kind of love the introduction to Princess Leia in because it's kind of like a bait and switch where at the beginning, and they have the R2-D2 projection, and she's kind of like in like typical storytelling, she's like a damsel in distress. You know, they got to go save the princess. It's going to be one of those stories. But when they rescue her, she's like a complete BA, and she actually ends up, you know, kind of leading the charge at one point. And that's the scene I'm talking about when they're kind of being pinned down by the stormtroopers, and she kind of just grabs the blaster from Luke, and she's
Into
like,
the chute, fly boy.
like somebody's got to save her skins, and like, you know, it just kind of shows that she's like her own character, and she's not necessarily the damsel in distress. Like she's like a strong,
very
character.
Capable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she becomes the great general.
And I think Princess Leia in Rebels, I like her character in Rebels too. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I think
she didn't watch. So
one underrated scene is when Leia uses the Force to pull herself through space in Episode 8.
What's wrong with that?
Wait, did we already go to the top 5 worst scenes?
I don't want to do that list. That'd be very sad.
But look, you know,
That was such a dumb
everything
scene.
that you can think of in life has good stuff and bad stuff, right?
But that was so bad.
Come on.
I just started laughing.
Did you? I laughed in the theater.
Poor Princess Leia.
Well, I guess we're done.
Okay, so that's it.
All right.
Close it out.
Definitely want to say thank you to KSLU for letting us use this
And
cool
the banner
studio.
there,
Yeah,
here.
Awesome.
got the hoodie. Yeah, we employed by KSLU. So thank you so much. South a radio station, and we don't want to give our location in Louisiana, and
We don't want to give the location
don't want to give our location.
because it's KSU. It's like right
They
there.
can look it up.
It's like right there.
we're not gonna cut out that step for them. If you want to find out where we are, you go. We have a
Oh,
Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
So.
90.9. It's right there. So.
Well, they can't read that.
Oh, okay.
They can't read that. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll have to find any ideas for what we'll do.
Oh,
next.
I think we could. The ideas are endless. I mean, but if you like this, and if you put some comments and stuff that you want us to ramble on for endless hours about, we could do superheroes next, which would be obvious.
Right.
We could do the nature of science. I'd love to talk about science or
That'd
just
be fun.
science fiction in general. You know, but I think we should focus on geeky stuff because that's what I like,
Right.
and it's all about me.
I think we should do something that a lot of people want, like top 5
We should do what I
Shazam
want.
moments.
Yeah, top star.
I'll
Uh,
go for that.
I don't think you guys can make a list. I
Oh,
I really struggle with my 47 honorable mentions to get down. We should do a top 5 comic books. That could be pretty cool.
Now, but see, for me, for comic books, I mean, I don't read comic books anymore, so it's all up to 1987 or something like that.
That could be good.
Okay.
That could be good.
Cool.
I don't think you read comic books at all, right?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Never had. But if you count like, you know, manga maybe.
That's a comic, yeah.
That's a comic.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
probably put some manga in my list. So. All right. Well,
All right.
thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, we'll be back soon. I don't know. There's no structure for this
No,
yet.
there's no structure. No, it's all free form. Who knows? It may be the last episode. I don't know.
Right. So, Adam
Maybe
Cortez,
maybe the phones didn't even
Callahan.
record. Red Lane.
check it out.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you.
All right.
All right. Let's see. That's what I'm worried about. I'm looking at that phone like I bet it didn't. It's not recording. It's recording.